Those streaks on your window aren't dirt. You could scrub for a full hour and they'd still be there, because the thing you're cleaning was never the problem. In Japan, they worked this out centuries ago, and their glass comes out so clear people walk into it. No fancy spray. Half the time just water and a sheet of newspaper. Stay to the end, because the mistake that ruins most people's windows is one, they repeat their whole lives without knowing it. So if the streaks aren't dirt, what are they? Look closely at glass that's dried badly, and most of what you're seeing is minerals. Tap water, especially hard water, carries dissolved calcium and magnesium you can't see in the bottle. The water sits on the glass, it evaporates, and the minerals stay behind, dried onto the surface in whatever shape the water happened to pool. That cloudy haze is calcium. So a lot of us are fighting the wrong thing. We scrub harder and buy stronger cleaner, and none of it lands, because the trouble was in the water the whole time, which is where the Japanese approach comes in, and it goes back a long way. There's a tradition called osoji, the big year-end clean done before the new one starts. Its old name was susuharai, soot sweeping, from the days when lamps and open hearths left a film over everything, and once a year it all came down. The part worth keeping is this. Windows were never an afterthought in it. They were a main event. And the way osoji treats a window is the whole reason the method works. It starts with the water. If hard water leaves the haze, the fix is water, with nothing in it to leave behind. Distilled water carries almost no calcium or magnesium, so there's nothing left to dry into a streak. That single swap does more than anything on the cleaning product shelf, and a jug runs about $1. When there's grease to cut, a splash of white vinegar goes in. It's a mild acid, so it dissolves the mineral deposits hard water leaves and lifts today's grime in the same pass. What you take it off with matters just as much, and this is where the newspaper earns its reputation. It sounds like a grandmother's trick you smile at and ignore. It works, and the reason is physical. Paper towel is made of short, loose fibers that shed, so it leaves lint and pushes the cleaner around. Newspaper is denser and holds together. Crumpled into a ball, it has just enough grip to pull grime off without scratching, and it soaks the moisture up instead of dragging it in circles. One catch, and it is a real one. The ink. A lot of papers now use soy-based ink, which stays on the page. Some do not. 2-second test. Pinch a sheet between your fingers. Clean fingers, good paper. Black fingers, and that ink goes straight onto your frame, which brings up the part of the window everybody skips. The tracks. Slide the window open and look down into the channel it runs in. That dark buildup in the corners isn't only dust. Where a window sits shut and moisture collects, that black is often mold, fed by condensation and stale air. And no matter how clear the glass is, a filthy track frames it. The eye goes straight to the grime. The fix is patient rather than hard. The dry dust and grit get vacuumed out first, because wetting it beforehand just turns it to paste that smears deeper in. Then a little baking soda along the channel, a spray of vinegar over it, and it foams. That fizzing is the two reacting, loosening what's caked on. 10 minutes later, an old toothbrush works the length of the channel and a cotton swab gets the square corners. Vinegar does double duty here because it's a natural antifungal, so the mold dies rather than just moving house. And those little slots at the bottom of the frame are weep holes meant to drain rainwater. A blocked one is how water backs up and starts the mold all over again, so they get poked clear too. Now, before the last piece, a quick word. If this is the kind of small fix you find satisfying, the sort of thing that quietly changes how a whole room feels, that's most of what this channel is. Japanese methods for the ordinary stuff you use every week and never think about. Subscribing costs nothing and means the next one finds you. Here's a problem the glass and the tracks don't cover though. The screen. The mesh in your window screen, the amido, catches a season's worth of dust, pollen, and city grime, and it's the reason the air coming in never smells as fresh as it should. Most people go at it the obvious way, with a wet cloth or the hose, and they make it worse. Here's the counterintuitive part, and it's the same lesson the tracks taught. Water comes last, not first. A dusty screen that gets wet turns into mud that grinds into the weave and sets there. Dry first, always. So the dust comes off dry to begin with. A vacuum with a soft brush attachment, run in slow strokes across the mesh, pulls the loose dust and pollen out of the weave before any moisture touches it. A sticky lint roller does the same job in a pinch, especially for peat hair and cobwebs, peeled off as it fills. Only once the screen is genuinely dust-free does anything damp come near it, and even then it's gentle. A melamine sponge, the plain white kind, barely damp, drawn lightly over the mesh. It lifts the greasy film that dust leaves without tearing the weave. Rinse the sponge often, and you'll watch it come away gray, then black, then finally clean. For a screen that's really far gone, the kind near a busy road with a baked-on greasy haze, the same 50-50 vinegar and warm water from before does the job. Mist it on and given 10 minutes before a soft sponge and a rinse. The screen that goes back in the window is a different object. Set it against the light next to one you haven't done yet, and the difference is almost theatrical. Which leaves one thing that can undo all of it, and it's the mistake I promised you at the start. The sun. A bright, clear day feels like the natural time to do windows, all that light showing every smudge. It's the worst time there is. Warm glass dries your water almost the second it lands, faster than you can wipe it, and fast drying is exactly what makes streaks. The liquid evaporates before you've cleared it and leaves its residue set in the glass. People have this backwards. They wait for sun on purpose. What you want is a cool, gray, overcast day when the glass stays cold and the water waits for you instead of racing you to the edge. And that lines up with something osoji knew all along. It happens in late December, in the cold, in the flat gray light of the year's end. Everyone assumed the timing was about the calendar. Some of it was. But a cold window is the easiest window there is to clean, and a tradition that ran 1,000 years was never going to miss that. So it was never about scrubbing harder. Clear glass comes down to water with nothing in it to leave a mark. A sheet of paper that lifts instead of smears, tracks and screens that don't frame your work in grime, and picking a day when the sun isn't drying everything before you're done. Try it once when the weather's gray and dull, and you feel like staying in. Step back afterward. For once, there won't be anything there to see.